Alright, so now we can start to add in our shadows. I have a new layer that I created. It's on top of everything else except for our final line art, and we have it set to multiply. I'm going to pick a light purple color to do my shadows in, and we're going to select our shape layer, so we're making sure we don't go outside any lines, and I am going to make sure I'm using a nice hard brush. Okay, and we're going to come in here and start painting in our shadows. Okay, so let's start up here with this horn. This other horn. And you want to make sure that you have those really crisp, clean lines, right? Make sure that we're not getting any, you don't want any sort of like a shading effect. You want it, or you do want it to be shading. We're cell shading obviously, but you want it to be really crisp. So I'm switching over to my studio pen now so I can get some sharper lines. But we don't want any blending. That's what we're trying to avoid. Do this shading here under his eyebrows, his brow ridge. You can really see that as we start to do this, he really starts to take form. You can really see some of his dimensions and his shapes, right? Come over here to the inside of his ear. Thinking about where the light is coming from, which I'm imagining it's coming somewhere from roughly above left somewhere. Okay. So I'm keeping that in mind as I go in order to make sure I get the angle of the shadows right. And then I'm going to take my eraser tool and just clean that up a bit. Get my hard eraser. Okay. Bring it around to his nose just a little bit. Just get his teeth here. Underside of his lip. Okay, and then his jaw. Alright. Back here behind his ear. I'm going to pick a different brush because this one's giving me some problems a little bit. That's better. All right, let's move over to his body some more. So we're gonna get the bottom of his neck here is all gonna be pushed back into shadow. Okay. His pecs here. Okay, working his arm. Trying to make sure we get some nice pointy shapes in there. Really help define some of those muscles. Hand here. A little bit of his knuckle there. Okay. Get this bottle. And his bracer. What I'll probably do afterwards as well is come back with our adjustment sliders and just lighten up this purple a little bit, because we're gonna do two-tone and three-tone. Just to show examples, two-tone is when there's only basically two tones with your shading, right? There's a light and the dark, and then maybe a few highlights that you might want to add, and then three-tone is where you have an extra layer of shadow. So we're gonna do both, but if we're gonna do three-tone, then we need this base layer that we're starting out with to be a little bit brighter than what it is, a little lighter, because it's pretty dark right now. So after we finish with it, we'll go through and fix that real quickly. Okay. I'm gonna do a shadow for his horns, as well as for his head onto his own chest. So there's a shadow for his horn, and then his head. Be casting a shadow over here. Alright, I'll fill that in. Perfect. There's a shadow from his head there. Good enough. Okay. Let's do his belly here. Little piece of his belly button. Alright, all this will be in shadow down here. Okay, doing his hand. Or his foot hand, whatever you want to call it. His other foot, his toes. Okay. It's looking pretty excellent so far. Let's do this strap here. There's going to be a little bit of a shadow from the strap, and then it will get a little bit further away from his body as it kind of lifts up in the air there. So let's throw that in. Okay. Then we can come in here, get some detail on the strap. So a little bit on the bottom of the straps, a little bit on the buckle. Okay. It's looking good. Put that buckle in there. Perfect. A little shadow on the little vials, little beakers there. A little bit of shadow underneath. Okay, excellent. Getting a little bit of shadow on these pouches here. Or maybe it's being cast by the flap. Okay. Alright, awesome. And then we can throw a little bit in there. Perfect. Let's move up here to his arm. Oh, we already did this arm. Is that everything over there? Yeah, that looks right. Okay, then we're down here on this arm. Almost finished, actually. So, bring my brush size back up again. These few bits of muscle here. Excellent. Let's do his bracer, as well as these little knots. Okay. And then just his hands are all that's left. And the ground. Perfect. All right, I think that looks pretty good. Let's do the last pieces down here. So a little shadow where his fist meets it, and shadow from his body here. Perfect. And then any other few bits of shadow we want to add for the ground. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and take this, kind of go to my hue, saturation, brightness. I'm going to bring up the saturation, but I'm also going to brighten it so it's not so dark. Okay. Right about there. Looks good. So there you go. If you want to do two-tone shading, this is where you would stop. You could call this finished, throw in a background in there. We're going to keep going. We'll add a background, and we're going to go on to do two-tone shading so you can see what that looks like. So that's it for this lecture. I'll see you guys in the next one.